In this video, we're breaking down the Dorito side of the MSXL Louisville Open layout happening August 22nd through the 24th at Asylum Paintball. We'll go through every key bunker on this side, look at the best breakout options, and talk about how to apply pressure so you can control the tempo and rack up the points. What's up, guys? My name is Brady Nickel for Outside the Net, where we go deep on paintball and the mindset of true competitors every single week. So if that sounds like something you're into, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Now, let's jump in. So as we're breaking this field down, you guys got to keep this thing in mind. There's ones, twos, and threes. When the one dies, the twos become a one. The threes become twos, become ones. So everybody on this field is an attacker at some point. It's just when do you become the attacker? Now, we're covering the Dorito side in this video. And so we're going to look at a couple breakout options as a Dorito player. I think the first thing you're probably going to see from the Dorito attacker, first Dorito attacker, is D2 on this field. And D1 as an alternative, and the can. You might see some action out to the Dorito corner, but I don't think you'll see a lot of that, and we'll get to that in a minute. And we'll call this one Dorito Tower for this portion of the video. I know this is kind of center, and we'll dive into that some more in the center video. But anyways, these are your options for the breakout on the D side. Now let's dive in and see what kind of looks we get from all of these positions. Okay, so let's look outside. So now we're in the Dorito corner, or some of you guys might call this the turret. The 50 is the widest bunker that you can see, this big 50 wedge here. And so unless your first attacker is up in that 50, you're probably going to be looking inside. And that's a communication thing and being aware at all times. So if your attacker is up in the D2, D3, or even the Dorito 50, looking inside, then you need to be focused inside. So let me back up here. If he's looking down the tape or on the outside of the 50, then you need to be pushing up because he's probably about to go around. But two, you're looking inside to make sure that he doesn't have any immediate threats. Now, I don't think you're going to see a lot of action going on in this snake from here unless somebody's popping over that little brick, which is the S2. So this here is the S2. Somebody's standing over the top of it. You might get some action there, but I don't think you're going to see it a lot. You have the 50 just on the inside of that wedge to watch out for. And I think you may have some drop shots from that tower over there. So the grit tower, which is the snake side tower, they might be able to drop some balls in there. So I would not sleep on that. You can't really see them because of this pin right here. But, if somebody's shooting a poppet or something that's very good at lobbing balls and dropping them into unique spots, they could definitely come from that tower. The Dorito tower, you can see a little bit of it, but that pin kind of has them blocked out. Again, they may be able to shoot over the top of it, so don't sleep on it and count that off. And as we look more and more outside, so you have the Delta, which is the Dorito side can. You have them on the outside, and then you have D1 and D2 on the, or sorry, D1 and D3 on the outside. And then that is it as far as the turret goes, the Dorito corner. Okay, let's go into the D1. Now, this might be okay for a starting position. If somebody gets out to the turret and they're wrapping on the outside, you'll have to pay attention to that. Or if they get all the way to the D2 and are wrapping on the outside, you'll have to pay attention there. And then, of course, the 50 Dorito. If they make it to the Dorito 50, you're in trouble. So keep that in mind. You can get some shots in on the Delta, the Dorito can, on the outside there. And then you have heads up on the outside here of the Doritos. All these are in line. So whether you're looking inside or outside, they're all going to be heads up for you. This might have a little bit better view on the snake, maybe drop something in there, but I wouldn't count on that as a play. Just be aware that somebody could be posted up. If they take the snake, be aware that that is open for them to wrap on you and get some shots on the inside here. Okay, D2. So look at the D2. I think you're going to see a lot of breakouts to here. So you wrap on the outside, you've got the D side tower, you've got the Delta, you've got obviously D3 there. If you're there first, I doubt you're going to see anybody here, but you might catch somebody trying to make it through this gap if you are setting a trap and they don't know you're there. If they don't know you're there, that's their problem, because there's no reason that the communication should not have gotten across. So I would be under the assumption at all times that they know where you are. Now, you do have eyes on God. So if God, for whatever reason, is looking inside, looking cross, and you do have drop on Cobra a little bit. Remember, that's a short bunker. That's a little Aztec. So you might be able to get some drop shots in there, as well as the Grit Tower, which is our snake side tower, or the money, as some might call it, on the inside there. And then, of course, this wedge. And I do think, and we're going to talk about this when we get to the center video, but I do think you're going to see a lot of people utilize this wall. Okay, let's move on to D3. So the D3, everything is opened up. I think you're going to, well, let's just look at the shots, right? So you got that covered. You got that zone. You've got the Delta on the outside. This is going to be, I don't know. I think this is going to be a challenge here because it's kind of heads up. And I think the cans might be a little bit, I'm not going to speculate on that, but be very aware and cautious of that Delta from the D3. You got the snake side tower, the Grit Tower, and just like the D2, you've got God and Cobra on the inside. And let's finish it off with the D50. Now, we're actually going to go back to that Delta too. So you wrap on this outside. Once you've cleared this zone, so once you've cleared this, that's your opportunity to wrap, right? So now you are exposing packs all day on all of these positions. And I don't think that it's going to be uncommon to see people getting bunkered out of this 50. I think we might see some trades. I think we might see some stabbings happen. The key is going to be to get out wide early and then have a good 2 to support you and put those players in those key bunkers. They're going to stop you from getting there. So, for example, let's say you stop at the D1 on the breakout, right? Okay, what stops you from getting to D2? Well, this grit tower can stop you very easily if a gun is pointed that direction. The D side tower has some stopping power there. They can definitely put some balls in this gap, but they're going to have a harder time because of this Dorito 3 is kind of blocking this zone here, but do not sleep on that. They can definitely get some length in there. It's just going to be tighter and more of a challenge for them. Let's see, what else can stop you? Your D1, your mirror, can also stop you from coming up here if they're shooting on the outside and putting a lane through here. So that's why I say I think your best bet is to get to the D2 on the breakout, because...
Hey, by the way, if you're watching this and thinking, man, I wish I could ask a question right now, you actually can. We bring guests on live inside our Discord community, and you get the chance to ask them directly. The link's in the description, and while you're here, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of these breakdowns. Back to the show.
Anybody that is either in the turret looking inside down this highway, per se, this gap, or on the D1 looking down this cut, we'll call it the cut here, can stop you from getting from D1 to D2. So that's why I believe with the chaos of everybody running out to their bunkers and trying to get in, D2 is going to be the option. Now, once you are to D2, then what? Where do you go from here? How do you get to this 50, which is going to be the goal on the D side? You have to get this player out. You have to get this player out, and you have to get this player out. Primarily, that's your biggest threat before you can even think about moving that direction. So if any of those 3 bunkers are occupied, it's no bueno. Now let's look at your threat moving up. So let's say you eliminate these 3. What do you have to look for? Well, as you make your transition, and this is going to be a little bit of risk versus reward. It's going to be a little bit of risk versus reward. You have to make sure that Cobra is not putting paint through this gap, right? Through this gap here where you're running through, or a God. But you also have to look inside. So you're not just running up this way. I wouldn't even pay attention to that side necessarily. Not that your head's not always on a swivel, but hear me out here. If there's somebody posted up in the snake 2, you're screwed, right? So as soon as they get a D3 call or D2 call, somebody's going to be paying attention to you. But even then, the snake 3 has that little Aztec blocking you off. So I think this is what I would do if I'm going from D2 to the D50. As I make my exit, my first check is right here in the Cobra. And let's assume that you don't know, right? Because again, if you're communicating well with your team, then you should know if there's a body there. Is there somebody in the Cobra? Let's assume you don't know. Okay, we check that off. Then we check off the snake 2, right? And it's as easy as putting paint in that zone, right? And seeing if somebody's there. You're just kind of anticipating that there's a body there. So the farther you go, the tighter you have to wrap, more cross you have to cover. As you make it past the 50, you're checking off this little Aztec and this zone here. All the way in. And then your first thing needs to be to look cross into this snake. Now, assuming nobody's there, that's when I would wrap. I would immediately wrap on the outside of the 50 and check these off. Now, this gets way easier if you have a 2 supporting you to take up some of the support. All right, so they're going to make sure that you're not getting run down on the backside. And then once you wrap on that 50, that's when your support goes. No hesitation. So that is my thoughts on the D side. Let's take a look, because we didn't really look at this delta, this D side can. So you do have this zone here, right? Decent coverage, really. I mean, for the delta. So this isn't a bad support position, but you're exposing yourself as a 2 to more gunfights by being here. Because you also have your mirror to look out for. So you are exposing yourself to more potential gunfights, but you do have more visibility. So it's kind of that, you sacrifice one for the other. So if you're a strong gunfighter, then this is a okay spot to be. And again, once your first attacker rounds on that and starts checking them off, that's when you can move up the field. Now, before we conclude this video, look at what can stop you as the D runner on the breakout. So we have this home player can cover this gap here. It's not one. Can shoot that gap, and even over the top of that. So that's risky business. I mean, a good back center gunner can definitely lock that off. So you might want to play it pretty fluid and make some decisions on the fly. So that is as you're running past that delta. And this is going to be one of those things where you're reading the paint, right? So if you're not able to make it out to the D2, dive into the D1 and then assess the situation from there. And as soon as you can break out from here into that D2, that's when you got to go. Look for your positions to bump. And if you're looking up here on the wall, that is from here, shooting cross, or from this side, here, shooting cross, covering that gap. And I want to say that person is going to have cover from about right there and even over the top of that. So that's the fan of where they can shoot from that position off the break. So proceed cautiously.
That wraps up our look at the Dorito side of the Louisville Open layout. If you want the full picture, don't miss the snake side and center breakdowns too. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Outside the Net. I'm Brady Nickel, and if you want to go even deeper, we host live shows every week where we bring on guests and let you ask your questions in real time. The only way to be a part of that is through our private Discord community. So hit the link in the description and join us there. I'll see you inside.